in 2, in 1.
Welcome, friend, to the LoreCraft podcast.
And welcome once again to the LoreCraft podcast. My name is Machik, your fun, furry, fabulous feline Tauren druid, and we are back with the podcast, episode 112. We're going to be talking about the Battle for Azeroth, Battle for Lordaeron, opening scenarios. We're going to talk about Horde today. If we have enough time, we'll move into Alliance. If we don't, then we will make the podcast next week about the Alliance one. There's a ton to talk about, and so I'm going to try and do my best to get through it all so that you can get my feelings on it, because there's some really awesome feelings on it, and then there's some really feelings that make me a bit sad, but I don't want to jump too far into that, or don't want to jump too far ahead, because I don't want to ruin the podcast already after my hiatus of 2 months. So yes, I've been gone for 2 months, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But before we get too far, I want to play a little clip. You'll hear it on the podcast. You'll see it on the vidcast. I've been playing with how I do my vidcast stuff. So here we go. Just a little clip. Listen, enjoy. Let's see if I've got it too loud. I probably have it too loud. So we're going to turn down a little bit, and we'll hit this button here.
Ours is a cycle of hatred. Alliances forged and broken. We have paid the price for sharing this world. And we have forgotten what makes us strong.
Close ranks! Advance has won! Lordaeron will be ours!
My king, we have her cornered.
So a little bit of notes about what you're seeing there. Is that it, or what you're listening to? Is that is the Battle for Azeroth cinematic trailer. Now, that itself is not a spoiler, because that was shown some time ago. But it's important to me, and I'm going to bring it up here in just a little bit, because we're talking about Battle for Azeroth today. And for those that don't know, I'm in the beta, and so we're going to be talking about beta-related items. If you don't want to hear anything about the beta, go ahead, hit stop on this week's podcast. Well, you can listen for a little bit. I'll give one more big spoiler warning before I actually start to get into it. But this week is really about the beta opening sequences. It can be found on places like Wowhead, and I know there's some YouTube videos of it. Also on Machik, my personal YouTube, my personal gaming YouTube account. I've got actual video of me going through that process. But if you don't want to know too much about that, then you're going to want to ignore everything in just a few minutes. But
Firing!
Whoa. Okay, Sylvanas, calm down. So before we get into that, though, of course, we need to do something first, and that is this right here. Let's see. This button. Is this button going to work? 50-50. Let's hit it.
This week, across Azeroth.
Oh my gosh, it did work. Yay, I'm back in business once again. This week across Azeroth, what did I do this week, or for those just coming back, the past 2 months across Azeroth? Well, I'm going to give you're going to get a little bit of insight about what I've been doing, as well as what I haven't been doing. Actually, it might have been 3 months. I don't even, I'd have to go to the LoreCraft.com to find out how long ago the last one happened. So the last one went up February 27th. So that was, it was about 2 months ago, almost exactly. So it's been a couple of months since since I've done a podcast. It's also been a couple months since I did any real playing of World of Warcraft. I had actually taken a huge hiatus, and for lots of reasons, my job, my family, there was a lot going on. For those of you watching the video, look, I'm wearing glasses now. It's not that I've gotten old. It's just contacts weren't working for me. But I had to focus on some things in my life. And I've started doing that now. And additionally, my semester ended a couple weeks ago, so I'm free for the summer, other than working on some side projects dealing with art and web design. And I got into the beta and I started playing again, and suddenly my love was rekindled because of the new storyline. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't want to jump into that because that's spoiler related stuff, so we're not going to do that yet. But I did. I took a break. I played some other games. I played some PUBG. I've been playing Fortnite a little bit with my son, FIFA soccer, those sorts of games. But I was really kind of focused on my job, which is important, right? There's even when you're on the loading screen a couple of times, it says, take a step back from the game, get out into the real world, and I did that, and I needed that, and I think because of that, there's a rekindling of love for the game, especially after playing games that the story is. I mean, PUBG, Fortnite don't really have this. I mean, I guess if you played Fortnite's, they've got we were just doing battle royale. Let me just put it that way. So I guess to a certain extent, if you play one of the I don't know what they call it, the story modes, maybe there's a bit more to it. But there was a bit. I was playing Hearthstone for a bit, really, getting back into that. Yes, Miyagi, the LoreCraft podcast is indeed back. So I was playing a lot of other things, and finally things started to settle down. I've just finished my first year teaching at my new school, and so I feel a lot more confident in my abilities, my time management. I've started eating healthier. I know some of you guys might not care about that. I've started losing weight. So I started doing things that I wanted. Okay, truth be told, I turned 40 this year. I turned 40 years old, and to me, that feels a little bit old, but still a little young. It's very, very weird. Oh, thanks so much, Miyagi. I appreciate that. And so I decided, I was going to take care of myself. And so I took a step back from a lot of things. And now that I've started doing that, I've started taking care of myself. I have more energy, and my passions are starting to come back. My passion in art, my passion in World of Warcraft. And so I want to get back into that while maintaining my taking care of myself. So that's where we are. Having said that, the past week I've been in World of Warcraft, but I've been in the beta. And I've loved it. I did stop in, the non-beta for a while. I did a little bit of regular work, but I am in the beta, and I'm really enjoying the beta. And after being gone for 2 months, not a ton has changed in the game per se, but I've forgotten things, right? You lose your muscle memory, and so I'm playing and I'm learning again. I'm playing on my druid. On the Horde side, that's what I'm kind of focusing in the beta. And then on the Alliance side, I decided I'm going to do a mage because I wanted to be a mage. And so I'm a dwarf mage, which was kind of fun and odd. I love dwarves. So that's what we're doing now. I'm working on the beta. So I don't know if I'm going to get back into the regular game anytime soon. I'm going to really stick in the beta a bit. I don't want to wear myself out terribly, so I'm only going to, on the Horde side, I'm only doing one tune in the beta. And I created a bunch of tunes because I just wanted to look to see what the spells are going to be like, things like that. But my druid is the only one that I'm actually going to go through all the leveling process. Alliance side, I'm probably going to do a few more because I may not have a chance to do as much Alliance side work once the X-Pack drops. Because I'm going to focus on my Horde. I'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to be hitting those. I'm going to try and get through it all. I'm not going to speed through it. Literally, I'm documenting it all on twitch.tv/MachikED because I wanted to kind of focus on, showing other people this is what's happening in the game. So if you're interested, definitely check out those videos in the YouTube channel as well, MachikED. MachikED pretty much for everything right now. If you do Steam, MachikED. If you do Xbox One, MachikED. That's my moniker. It's always going to be my moniker. Which is funny because when I do PUBG and people read it, they're like, Machiked? Machiked? And they have no idea how to say it. But everybody on ED, hopefully, or that I've played with on ED, knows that it's MachikED. All right, so that's been my week in WoW. And like I said, I'm moving forward. Yeah, Miyagi, you get the same thing, of course. Miyagi ED. So this moving forward, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be focusing Horde side. Maybe not for the entire X-Pack, but that may change based on some events, which I'm not going to say yet because I don't want to, for those that are listening and don't want the spoilers, I'm not there yet. If I do perchance switch to Alliance, fabulous. But I think I'm settling in on playing on Emerald Dream again. I'm still going to keep some characters on Wormrest Accord. I like the RP over there. But I am coming back to ED for a little bit, just to kind of get back into things, get back with some of the people that I've played with before. There's some really wonderful role players on Emerald Dream, so I'm looking forward to getting back in and role playing with them and having some fun. And I'm going to be streaming my stuff as well on MachikED. I'm starting to get more into the streaming thing, so if you want to follow, great. One last thing, for those that are Patreon supporters, you notice you haven't been charged in a couple months. I actually turned off Patreon because I wasn't doing anything, and I did not want people to be charged money for me not producing content. I felt that was kind of a douche move. I will be turning it back on after the 1st of this month. Because I am looking to continue this now, and it does need support. I'm a one-man band doing a lot of the editing. If you look at the images when I do the vidcasts, or the images when I do my headers and stuff on the website, all that's done by me. I love doing it, but every little bit of money helps to support things like my subscription to Adobe, or my hosting of the website, or the hosting of the podcast. But you can check that out at patreon.com/theLoreCraft. Again, it's not up right now. I'm not turning it on till after the 1st of the month, so that people don't get charged for the last month where I didn't produce anything. All right. With all that said, 13 minutes in, and it's time to say I am now going to be talking about spoiler-related things. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the opening Battle for Lordaeron sequences for Horde and Alliance. And if you don't want to know... Now, truth be told, and I'll tell you right now, there's some filler cutscenes in there that they haven't even put those out. So there are some things that I'm going to be speculating on. I don't know the true answers. So if you don't want to know any of that, now's the time to go ahead, hit stop. Can't wait to see you guys again in the future. But I just want to make sure that people understand that I am talking spoiler-related things. And you notice I'm giving you a big in here, spoiler-related things. So please, if you're not in the beta and you don't want to know any of this, stop now. All right. I think I've mentioned spoiler-related things enough times now. I hope that suffices, Saisil. I know you were worried, but definitely wanted to make sure. All right, now let's talk about it. Let's talk about the opening scenario for Battle of Azeroth. So, of course, the first thing you do when you come in, you're doing where we are with the beta servers. You are in Orgrimmar with your character. He's 110, pretty decent gear, ready to go, and you get a quest to go talk to Sylvanas. And you go, And the first thing you're doing is you're teleported almost immediately to Lordaeron. And you're teleported down by where you can buy, I believe it's, where the teleporting magey stuff is. The Mage Quarter? That sounds good. The Mage Quarter. I don't play Forsaken, so all you Forsaken lovers, I apologize if I'm saying the wrong location, but it's where the teleports and you kind of go bibbly bibbly blue and you show up there. So you go there and you meet up with oh my gosh, did my mind just blank? It didn't just blank. It did. Sarfang, thank you. Holy cow. I wrote it down somewhere, just not in my notes. You meet up with Sarfang. And Sarfang's like, oh, we've got to protect the city. So we go in, and I think it's Sarfang at least. I don't think it's Nathanos. I don't think we come to Nathanos yet. No, Nathanos is later. Good. Whew. So you team up with Sarfang, and you have to go through Undercity, and it's one of those quests where you are... See... Thank you, Evie. It is the Mage Quarter. Yes. It's one of those things where you have to fill up a bar, right? So you're killing SI7 and you're helping the Forsaken flee. So here is my first problem with this. What are the Forsaken scared about when it comes to SI7? That they'll die again? They've already died once, okay? I guess maybe some of them might be frightened of death again, but they're all like sitting there shaking like, oh my gosh, you've come to rescue us. This makes sense if you're a human or any living race, but you're the Forsaken. I shouldn't have to be saying, you're safe now, go run to the group of people over there and you'll be safe forever. I mean, come on, really. Blizzard, what are you thinking here? Okay? I understand killing the SI7. SI7 everywhere, these spies, and you're fighting them, and you're in you're probably in a raid group. When this drops, you'll be in a raid group, and you're killing all these SI7, and so this fills up. Your first bubble fills up, and then, oh no, they've captured 2 SI7. One's a goblin, and one's a worgen. So you go over there, and of course... These guys are like the awesomeness that is SI7. So they go, poof, we disappear with a big smoke bomb. And you have to fight a bunch of other SI7 and they get away. Okay. So they get away. You finish up these SI7 and you keep pushing through from the Mage Quarter. They're afraid of Okay. Listen, this was just brought up in chat. They're afraid of permanent death. Okay. Maybe some of them. But some of them, after being resurrected, they probably went cuckoo. Let's be honest here. You've died and been risen as a Forsaken. Some of these people are probably not right in the head, okay? So I don't know if they're really afraid of permanent death. You're going to tell me that every Forsaken is afraid of permanent death? Wouldn't they be wishing permanent death after coming back? Let's say, they come back and in their living days, they had kids and now they don't have kids. Their kids didn't come back. And, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay. And I don't know if we can do it in this short amount of time, but yes, I think some might be afraid of permanent death, but I don't think all of them are. Personal opinion. All right, so you've finished up with the SI7. You finished saving some of the Forsaken, and you move in to the main opening where the bank is and whatnot. And now you're no longer fighting SI7. Now you're fighting druids. All right, so here comes a problem for me playing a druid. I hate fighting druids of anything because of my role play. But I have to go in here and kill all of these druids who are all in bear form. Of course, you don't see any cat form. You don't see any alkins. You don't see any or moonkins. They're all bears. Okay. They're druids of the claw, I think. I'd have to go back and look at my video, but they're druids. Again, you're also telling some of these wonderful Forsaken, you guys are safe. We will protect you, even though you're a skeleton and could probably protect yourself better than I could ever protect you. Just saying. And so your bar fills up, blah, blah, blah. And then that finishes and it's a port. And the port takes you up to the courtyard. And you get into the courtyard. And this is where Sylvanas is. And Nathanos Blightcaller is. And you go out, and she's like, okay, they're at the gates. You got to protect the gates. And so that's what you do. You go out the front gate, and lo and behold, this is where that cinematic is, right? So I played it right at the beginning, the Battle for Azeroth cinematic, where the Alliance is at the gate, Sylvanas is on the top. And when you watch that cinematic, you go, both sides. It's like, yes, if you're Horde, oh my gosh, for the Horde, Sylvanas has got me pumped. We're fighting with honor. The Alliance, if you're Alliance, you're like, we're taking back Lordaeron. We're going to take it from you for the Alliance. And you're in there, you're fighting. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Nelly. And this is why I bring water to these things. So I want to apologize for that. And so I get really excited. And so you've got two sides, and they're battling. And like one of the first things you see in the cinematics, you see this Tauren comes up, and then you see an orc gets shot with arrows, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when Sylvanas is like, for the Horde, we're going to fight for everything. And everybody, rushes in. And then at the end of it, you see this is where Anduin gets knocked down, but when he looks up, all of his people are injured and whatnot, and so he conjures the light to heal them, and the light shoots down into his hand and creates a barrier where they all get healed, and they're up again, and they're fighting again, and it's like epic. And had this scenario been like that, it would have been awesome. So let's talk a little bit about this scenario continuing, shall we? All right. So what happens in reality is you go out there and you start fighting the Alliance as a Horde, and you're like, brah, kill, die. And then suddenly, they start really laying it on. And Sylvanas is like, I got a secret weapon, the Azerite machine. And the Azerite machine, okay, in game, it kind of pops out of the ground. It's really weird. Not a big fan of it. But, this big beast of a machine starts, and it's your job to protect the machine against all of the Alliance. And so you're there, and you're doing your moves with your people, and you're die, kill, that sort of thing. And then, of course, the machine gets taken down by the one, the only Anduin Wrynn. And he does it, actually, this is kind of cool, he does it in a very similar manner that his dad took down the giant demon machine at the beginning of Legion with a sword directly through the quote-unquote the head of it, the top of the Azerite machine, and that disables it and takes it out of commission, which I think is really quite clever and cool. All right, so we're good there. Okay. And then this is where I start to have a problem, and I'm gonna play another clip. Okay, so there's no sound to this, so I'm gonna kind of describe what it is you're seeing for those that are listening. But it's just after Anduin blows up the Azerite machine, right? Okay, so it gets blown up, and you can see it, all fall apart. Anduin runs away, but then you see Sylvanas and Saurfang up top, and Sylvanas says, prepare the blight, let it rain it down upon them. Saurfang, there must be another way, War Chief. Sylvanas, there is no time for sentiment, High Overlord. And she walks away. And then they start throwing blight out via catapult, and then you see these other guys come out with spray guns, and they start spraying blight everywhere, and it continues. And then you go to Anduin, and he says, it's killing her own troops. And then Sylvanas starts to do kind of a purpley thing, and she raises a bunch of skeletons from the ground, which is actually kind of cool. And of course, the skeletons are going to fight for you. And then you go back in. So here is a bit of my problem with this. we go back and we look at the cinematic, and everything that you do in the cinematic is epic. It's about fighting for the Horde. It's about fighting with honor. You watch Sylvanas jump into the fray in the cinematic. You see her jump in and attack one of the towers with an arrow and take it down. She's fighting. Then she does raise some undead in that cinematic, but she raises it from people who have already died in the battle. And it feels epic. And suddenly we get in game, and now it's Blight. And, you know, as a Tauren, I no longer feel like I'm a part of the Horde, because I'm on Saurfang's side. I don't want to use Blight because it's going to kill some of our own people. It's going to have a negative effect on the environment. And as a Tauren, we are very particular about the ecosystems and ecological feel of our surrounding environment. So, you know, yeah, we may be a little hippie-ish, but that's how we Tauren do, okay? So don't judge. But yeah, so this Blight's all coming out, and I don't know. I have a problem. I no longer feel epic. I feel like we're taking cheat mode here, right? You're tossing Blight out there to stop them, and it's like, Blight, hey, look, we're stopping them. But at what cost? At what cost? What honor? I guess, you know, again, for the Forsaken, it doesn't matter. I guess if you're a goblin RPer, it doesn't matter. So I guess, you know, there's some situations where it's not such a huge deal. But when you look at it from a Tauren side, or you look at it from an orc side, it becomes questionable. That's where we got the title for this podcast. Sylvanas did what? So after that, you know, you go out and you have to fight. You go up and you get a gas mask, and you can also get some Blight too if you want to use it. So you have a choice, either just gas mask or gas mask and Blight. Every time I've only done gas mask because I'm Tauren, and so maybe if I do it on my Warlock, it may feel right to get the Blight too, but I don't know. And then you go on, you continue fighting, but you also have to rescue your own people. So you're out there. Gorbite, and you're right there. This is a great point. Gorbite, it says, it feels like it's garish all over again. And that's exactly what it feels like. Are we doing a rerun? Is this a repeat? And it makes me wonder, I start to wonder, okay, if that's true, are we going to be fighting Sylvanas too? And if that's true, we will need yet another war chief. If he says, it's not the first time the Forsaken have sacrificed everyone. They did something similar in Northrend. You're right. They did do something similar in Northrend, but it wasn't necessarily with the backing of the Horde as a group. And because Sylvanas is war chief, what we have the backing of the Horde. Yes, we can say she's not our Horde, but still technically it's the backing of the Horde. In Northrend, it was a faction. It was a separate faction who did it kind of on their own. And then Miyagi, this is good. Preparing for war chief turnover. Saurfang as war chief? Quite possibly. But so then I go back to wondering. So let's look at the war chiefs we've had as Horde, right? We've had Thrall, and Thrall was it for quite some time. Thrall was through 3 full, Vanilla, obviously, Burning Crusade, and Northrend. And then he left after Northrend. It was Cataclysm. That's where the change started to take place or finished taking place. And then Cataclysm, we had Garrosh through Mists, and then he went away. And then we had Vol'jin, kind of. I mean, he was war chief, but he didn't do much. So that's 1, 2, 3. Then we had 1, 2, 3. And now we have Sylvanas, that's 4. And if Saurfang's is next, that's 5. We will have had 5 war chiefs. And then you look at the Alliance side. And who of the Alliance side? They've had Rin and Rin. So why do we keep going through war chiefs when the Alliance get a family? I don't know. And we lose faction leaders, right? So they lost Elderrin. Okay, that's fine. Varian's dead. Totally, that's unfortunate. We lost Garrosh. We lost Cairn, Bloodhoof. We lost Vol'jin's dead. I don't know. Gorbite mentions that we might find out why Vol'jin chose Sylvanas, because Vol'jin did say that the Loa told him to choose her, and Zandalaria is heavily Loa based, so maybe there'll be some info there. I don't know. That's a good point. But so there's some frustration. Anyways, let me continue on with the scenario, I guess. I'm unhappy, as it were. I'm still getting used to these glasses too. So we continue on, and you finish pushing them back slightly, but then they push back against you, and they push you back into the courtyard where Nathanos Blightcaller takes you, and he leads you the rest of the way through. He tells Bane to protect the Sylvanas, while he takes you and the other heroes all the way to the back of the above ground Lordaeron, where you run into the Alliance again. And this time you run into Jen Greymane, Anduin, Jaina Proudmoore's there. And then later on, you find Mechatork shows up, and Illyria Windrunner, which is kind of cool, I would say. On your side, you have Nathanos, you have Sylvanas, you've got that sort of thing. So you've got some cool stuff happening. But then a big fight ensues here, where Blight is being used again. And again, I don't condone it. I think it's cheesy, but Blight happens. But we get pushed back this time. They push through with Jaina. Jaina being pretty powerful. Okay. So we get pushed back. We fall back again to the courtyard where Saurfang is. And Saurfang had been missing, and there's something that he says here, and I'm going to read it. Saurfang says, "I had to see it for myself. Was this your plan all along? Is this how you meant to achieve victory? This honorless travesty?" Sylvanas replies, "Honor means nothing to a corpse, Saurfang. You have the luxury of underestimating death, but it is something with which I am intimately familiar. Maybe you don't care if your people die, as long as it is honorable. But to me, this horde is worth saving. Anyone who disagrees does not deserve to stand among us. So die your warrior's death, High Overlord Saurfang. It means little to me. Perhaps I will raise your broken body to serve me once more, or perhaps you will have a chance to say hello to your son." Whew. So obviously Saurfang and Sylvanas are not friends right now. Okay. So Saurfang stays. We'll talk a little bit more about that once we get to the Alliance side. We head into the throne room, and then there's a cutscene which it's not being shown yet. So I don't know exactly what happens. There has been some data mined info that talks about Sylvanas is waiting in the throne room when Anduin arrives. Anduin offers her the chance to surrender. Instead, she blows up the entire city. That would be interesting to see, I guess. But again, I don't know. So there's that. And then from there, you move into your opening quest lines, moving into Battle for Azeroth, where you go and you meet up with the Zandalari tribe. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. This focus was really on the battle for Lordaeron. So let's talk a little bit. Looks like I've got time. So let's talk a little bit about the Alliance scenario. First off, the Alliance scenario is much shorter because you don't start in Undercity having to fight SI7 and then fight Druids. Okay, you immediately start at the gates of Azeroth. Or Gates of Azeroth. The Gates of Azeroth. This is a new location I've just made up. The Gates of Lordaeron. And so you show up, and Anduin's there, and Jen is there, and it's like, hey guys, it's time to fight the Horde to take over Lordaeron. And so essentially what's happening is you're on the other side of things, right? So first you're fighting them, and then you're fighting the Azerite machine, and then the bile stuff happens and you get angry. And then there's a cutscene which we don't see that that we think is Jaina, who comes in and she stops the blight and breaks through a sidewall to get us into the actual city of Lordaeron. Okay. And then, then you have to fight a troll druid first, which is actually kind of a fun fight because the druid keeps making these twisters that might throw you up and blows you back and forth. And I actually thought that fight was kind of cool. I don't remember that druid's name. It's in my notes somewhere, and I can't find it quickly enough to say it. Somebody will probably comment and say, hey, this is the druid's name. And I'll probably see it again when I play it on another Alliance character. So truth be told, who knows? So once you get through that, and then you're in the back again, where this is again opposite of the Horde side. You're now fighting Sylvanas and fighting Nathanos and all the blight, and it's your turn to destroy them, right? So it's another one of those fill up the bar quests, die until you make them retreat. Okay, and they retreat. And then I believe the next thing is you jump on a flying mount, not your own. It flies you over, and you actually see all of the blight that they've laid down on the ground. And it really is kind of disturbing looking until you land in the courtyard, and there's Saurfang. And you fight Saurfang. And Saurfang fights until he, can fight no more. And this is really kind of interesting. Because this is where Saurfang's like, okay, I fought, I'm ready. And Anduin comes up to him, looks like he's going to kill him, doesn't kill him, but says, essentially tells him, we're not going to kill you. And instead, we're going to take you prisoner. And he takes Saurfang prisoner, which I think is really kind of cool. And Saurfang was like, kill me. I'm dead now, So, but nope. So Saurfang is actually taken to prison, and you're actually on Horde side. You meet up with him again in the first quest line for Battle for Azeroth. So that's kind of cool, but it doesn't end how you expect it to end. And we'll hold off on talking about that right now because I want to save that for when we talk about those opening quest lines. And so this is that Battle for Lordaeron. So a couple of things, again, that I want to speculate on and talk a little bit about. Let's talk a little bit about Jaina. Jaina does, finally, I feel like she comes across as somebody who's angry but stable, because for the longest time, the past, couple X packs, she's felt crazy, right? I don't think anybody would argue that she's felt like she has been manic almost, to the point that she's become a caricature rather than somebody that we can relate to. And I feel like in this, we finally start to see a Jaina who's not cuckoo, but a Jaina who is angry and has a right to be angry, but is stable. And so I'm really thankful for that. That's kind of, I'm kind of stoked because I did not want to see Jaina come about as some sort of villain. She didn't need to come about as some sort of villain. She really needed her story to come back to what it was. And that is somebody who has, and it gets really exciting as you move into the Alliance quest, moving into Battle for Azeroth, as you're trying to recruit the Kul Tiras, because and not to give too much away, but she gets jailed in Kul Tiras. And I'm not going to go into that yet because we're not talking about it, but she takes it like somebody who is stoic, somebody who is prepared to do what she needs to do for the Alliance. And that's the Jaina that I've been missing. So and I'm not even an Alliance guy, right? I tend to play Horde. Now I've played Alliance, but if you look over my years, the majority of my years are Horde, but I've always liked Jaina. I've always thought that she was somebody who should have, this strong woman, this strong in who she is and what she wants the Alliance to be, and they've brought her back to that. So golf clap to you, Blizzard, for doing that. So there's that. On the other hand, this whole Sylvanas thing and the Blight, I understand that she, she's worried. She wants to she keeps saying she'll do anything to save the Horde, right? She says it when she's talking to Saurfang. She says it earlier, or she says it to Saurfang in the courtyard, but she also says it to him when she's up on the top of the wall. Anything to save the Horde. But is this really saving the Horde, or is this doing something different? Is this possibly breaking up the Horde? Is it, as a leader, as somebody who, I'm a college professor, so I lead in the classroom, but I also design theater shows, so I lead my crew there. When you lead, you have to make decisions that may be for the best of something, but you have to think about those decisions. Is the use of Blight the only thing she could have done to quote unquote save the Horde? And I just don't know. I just don't know if it is. I think there are other routes she could have taken. And I looked at Saurfang and that, and I'm like, man, he's the leader that the Horde needs. And again, maybe what happens is she just steps aside for Saurfang later on. Maybe she doesn't necessarily become the evil, the one we end up all disliking and wanting to kill again. But maybe instead what happens is she realizes she's gone too far. She realizes that her focus needs to be on the Forsaken, and Saurfang would do a better job leading the Horde as a whole. Maybe that's the route they're going. But I'll tell you, right here at the beginning, when you do that scenario, the first thing you're thinking is, unless you're Forsaken or again, maybe Goblin or something, is how can I be Horde if this is what we're going to do? Like, I felt like I wanted to be by Saurfang's side. I wanted to help him. I wanted to make sure that, he's doing it honorably. So, there's frustration there. There's frustration there. And for half a second, I was like, I'm just going to go play Alliance. Because at least with Alliance, there's this feeling right now of anger over what happened to the World Tree, but also this camaraderie among them all. You don't have the fighting factions within the Alliance like you do with the Horde right now. And there's a common goal that they're all going towards. And I want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of a group that's fracturing, that's falling apart. And again, Blizzard can change my mind, but we'll have to wait and see. Because as I move forward, right now I'm in Zandalar, and I'm doing these things for the trolls, and we want their navy to help us and that sort of thing. So once you once you finish the battle for Lordaeron, you don't necessarily run back into Sylvanas. You go back and you're helping these trolls, and obviously, I'm not 110. I haven't gone through the entirety of the X-Pack yet. So, a quote from Miyagi. Sounds like you don't want to be American. No, it's just Horde. I think is just okay. There are some parallels, I guess, between the Horde and America right now. The fracturing of a group. Oh, that was well played, Miyagi. Okay, never thought we should. God, I will never truly bring politics into my podcast, but the combination there is kind of weird, or the how it yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Another note, Evie says she's starting to sound a lot like Arthas in a lot of her decisions. True. Arthas, man, there's a comparison to make, right? Arthas thought what he was doing was for the betterment of his people, and it wasn't. You look at what he did at, what is that dungeon in the Caverns of Time? Where you go back and you kill all the zombies, but you also kill the people. I don't even remember now, but Arthas goes into that saying, we need to kill all these people because they're spreading undeath. Yeah, that is Colleen of Stratholme. Thank you, Miyagi. Yeah, he was doing it because he thought that was right, but we all know that's not right. And Evie, you're right. Maybe Sylvanas. Oh, man. Yeah, I can see it. That she could be going in that direction. That would be unfortunate, I think, and bad. All right, okay. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll have to see when do we go back to Sylvanas, right? Again, early on, once we go back to Sylvanas, what has changed? What has not changed? What happens to Saurfang? More to come in the future. So next week, what we'll do is we'll start talking about the Zandalari, and we'll talk about the Kultaras and how we get into those initial starting zones. That'll be our topic for next week. So if you have questions about that, make sure you send them to machik@thelorcraft.com, and I'll answer them on the podcast. Additionally, if you have any other types of questions, you can send them to machik@thelorcraft.com, or of course, Crafty Questions. It's hashtag Crafty Questions, CRAFTIE questions. You can, that's on Twitter. You can send them to me on their Twitter. Use that hashtag. I keep that as a search open so I can continuously watch. But just let me know if you have any questions about those beginning starting lines. And we can kind of talk a little bit about that. Before I go, one of the things that I do want to say is, I came back tonight, right? It's 2 months since I left. And, I feel like I'm back at home again. We've got 7 viewers on right now watching. We'll see how people respond to the podcast coming back online. But I'm really excited about where we're going to go with the podcast. And like I said, I've made some really healthy choices for myself, and I think that's going to kind of push me forward on this. And I'm really excited about the game. Again, there's a passion. I started doing some artwork on some of the characters too. So there's some, I feel like I want to be a part of the community again, which feels wonderful. I may be looking for a guild. I'm keeping the Earth Spear clan around, but I'm not sure I want to lead a guild right now. I may, if you're on Emerald Dream and you're in our roleplay guild that has hippie tendencies, I may be looking for a guild. So just something to kind of keep an eye out for. But again, I can't say it enough. I want to thank all of those that do support the podcast by listening, by heading to the website, LoreCraft.com, reading the articles that I put up there. You guys are fantastic. And, the crafty community wouldn't be who it is without you. So with that, we're going to start to pull it to a close. We went a full 50 minutes, but that's because I harped on Sylvanas, for ages. So you'll have to forgive me. Thank you once again for coming out tonight. And we will be back next week. Right now, we're going to stick to the 9:30 p.m. time. We're going to go back to live podcasts because I do enjoy doing these, and I have a much cleaner setup that makes me. All I have to do is come in, sit, open up my OBS, and click buttons on it to make it work. So it's not quite as time intensive as it once was. All right. That's it. Thanks so much. And I forgot to start my outro music. Let's get that started, shall we? There we go. All right. So we're back. This was episode 112, talking about Battle for Lordaeron. Next week we're talking about the opening quest lines. Thanks so much. From Machik, your fun, furry, fabulous feline druid. Stay nerdy. Woohoo! And we have got